afternoon, coolest coast. It is time for Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. I'm welcoming back these sparkly folks from Manitowoc Public Library, Tim Gadzinski, Jordan Kabat, Barb, Bundy-Jost, and you're here to talk about the upcoming Sparkle program. Welcome back, you guys.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you
Hi.
bet. Hi. So, okay, Sparkle. Sparkle refers to the vintage Evergleams made here in Manitowoc.
Yes.
What can people expect? What are you planning? What are you cooking up?
Well, I think this Sparkle is virtual, so people can watch on Facebook through the library Facebook page. We have guests that actually work the line at Aluminum Specialty. Inez will be there. She worked the aluminum cutting machine. We'll have Darlene there. I believe Darlene made the branches. We're going to have Jerry Walk Jr. there telling stories about his dad. And then we also have Audrey and Gerald Malik. Gary worked the machine that drilled the holes in the dowel. And I think the two of them met while working at the specialty. So maybe there's a love story there. I don't know.
I believe there
We'll
is.
find out. Yeah.
A romance made amidst the aluminum.
Evergleam romance.
Well, that's the Sparkle does all kinds of magic, doesn't it?
That's a Hallmark movie right there.
So you're planning a virtual event, and you have these panelists. They're going to be talking about their experience. Are you going to be asking them questions? Do participants have the chance to ask questions?
Yes,
absolutely.
Anyone who's attending, you can only attend virtually. We'll be filming it. We'll be live streaming it on Facebook, exclusively on Facebook. This one, not how we usually do things with live stream. Associated with Great Decisions, where we do both YouTube and Facebook. This one is exclusively on Facebook. So all you have to do is enter your questions into the comment section, and I will feed that to Barb, the panel, and Jordan.
Cool. When is this happening?
Tomorrow evening. Tomorrow evening
p.m.
at 6 p.m.
6 to 8, I think.
Yeah.
Around that time.
6 to 8 p.m. And that is on the library's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Manitowoc Library.
And so you're talking, some of these panelists that actually worked at Aluminum Specialties. When in time was that? When were they working at Aluminum Specialties?
Probably 1959. I think Inez said that she was there in 59 and started working on the first tree. And then she was there. They weren't there for a long time. A lot of these women were working jobs while they were going to school. So this was a temporary job. It went from maybe late March until early November. So a lot of people worked that third shift trying to get money to go to school, or they were young mothers trying to earn money so they could buy Christmas items for their kids and their family. So I don't know. I think some people had a couple of years in there. I don't think they retired doing this job from Aluminum Specialty, but they did spend some time there. And quite frankly, every time we host these panels, the memories are quite fond. They had a good time doing that hard work. So it's a great way to learn about the history and how important that aluminum manufacturing was to the livelihood of people who lived in this community. And it's just nice to have the firsthand account of what actually occurred back there in the factory.
Yeah, my mom did it for one summer.
God bless her.
She can't be on the panel. It would be pretty dull since she's passed.
Well, Jordan's grandmother worked there, didn't she, Jordan?
Yes, she also, she worked the line as well. She wound branches.
So do you find that people that worked there still have a love for the Evergleams, or are they like, oh no, I don't think so?
I think now they do.
There is that.
It's kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
You have people that kind of are, there isn't really, I've never encountered anyone who hates the trees, but some of them have a sort of indifference toward them just because it was a job. And they'll tell you that, like back in the day, it was just a job. They didn't think they were special in any way, and didn't think whatsoever that they would be talking about the tree now 60 years later. But there are many of them as well that love the trees now and love that they're in the public eye again. And some of them who don't have trees wish that they had purchased them for their employee discount back in the day, which was $1 a foot.
$1 a foot.
Yep.
Oh, can you
$1 a foot
imagine,
for
you
all this time,
guys?
but-
Can you imagine?
I think
I
even
just-
go ahead, zhuzh away.
I just put up my pink 6-foot tree. Back in the day, this would have been $6. I can tell you right now, this was not $6. Not at all. But look how
was it
pretty
like
it is.
$30.
Oh, Tim.
I
How
know.
I wish.
But I would say even the people that are indifferent, and I agree that it was a job. I think everyone is amazed, even if they're indifferent, at the popularity that they have achieved now and how they're so much in the pop culture landscape.
Well, I think Jerry walked before he passed on to that glowing heaven in the sky. He said, when I asked him, I said, Jerry, did you think you'd be talking about this 62 years after selling it on the market? And he said, absolutely not. He said, this is just a wild, wild ride. He had no idea that tree would ever take him to where it did. So it is a big surprise to a lot of people, but they're cool. They're just cool.
And did I hear you tell a story one time, Barb, about, the moms that were working on the line? They would work third shift. They'd put their kids to bed, tuck them in, and then go, and then come back and make school lunches and things.
And then send them off to school, take a little nap, welcome them home, make them a meal, tuck them in, and go back and do it again. So, I think a lot of those women, they're hardy lasses is what they are. They could do anything for a short period of time. And this was maybe six months of the year-ish. So that was a fact. A lot of them did that. If they were working, they'd go home. Their fingers were cut from this aluminum or burned because there was a little hot glue involved in wrapping the branch. So they said they'd put stuff on their hands, put some gloves on, and then go to bed, do it all over again.
How did it work? Did each person have one thing they were responsible for doing? So one person was like drilling a hole, and then it would move on, assembly line style? Or did one person have to do many jobs in the process?
No, it seemed like people had specific roles that they played. So you had girls who just wound branches and ran the machines that, did that procedure. There were guys like Gerald who only ran the drill machine and just drilled the holes in the pole. His wife Audrey only made bows, and maybe they would do that their entire shift. Maybe they did other things from time to time and went to other places where they were needed, but they kind of just had that one role.
Okay.
I know Inez says she was the first shift because she had to cut the aluminum so that people could wind the branches. So she said, I was the first step in the manufacturing of this tree. So I think that everybody had their purpose, and then they all came together and created a package that sold very well in the early part of the 60s and helped make this tree what it is today. And I think Jerry said that over a period, I think, Tim, you had that statistic, how many trees were from 59 to like 65.
4 million.
They had
what?
4 million trees. Yeah.
Yep.
And that was 65% of the market. So even though there were other manufacturers out there, I think Aluminum Specialty held the most out of all the places that created these trees. So
I was not expecting that high of a number.
I know.
I was surprised.
Just in the
when I
first
found
5
it.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were too, and we've been doing this for how long? So
Well, I couldn't get a specific number, but they said 4 million plus. So I don't know what that plus means. That has far-ranging implications. But it could have, it could mean one more tree than 4 million, but it could mean several 100,000.
So how many
Well,
are left in the world, do you think?
well,
8.
we're working on finding them all, Tina.
I mean, I thought you'd amassed like the whole collection so far, but now that I hear there was 4 million, you got a couple more to go.
How much
I
space
got-
do you have
I
behind
got
your
them.
furnace, Barb? Could you fit 4
Well-
million trees behind the furnace?
No, I think the husband got wise this year. He said, I made a call. You've got a storage unit. I'll put them there.
You know,
Now I'm blatant. They're out on the table when they come in. There they are. Hello, I'm guilty of all kinds of.
it would be a little
hoarding,
hard for
so-
you to hide it at this point, Barb, I think.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's all over downtown, so I guess it's evident that I have a problem.
When you were just talking about the production of the trees, it's funny there's an upcoming TV appearance about talking about the trees that Barb and Jordan have coming up. And the person that I set it up with said to me, "Is there any way that they could reproduce the production line of making a tree?" I said, "Well, not without a factory."
No.
I said that would be kind of difficult, but
I don't even think the factory's there anymore, is it? I think the warehouse is still
the
there.
warehouse is there, but the factory's gone.
Yeah, no.
You think I have
would
difficult things to do on this show? My gosh, I never
Right.
even thought about having you set up a whole factory.
No,
Well, but
thank
we
you.
do have a bit of a demonstration.
We do, Jordan.
What a segue, huh?
Jordan, you mentioned some of the different processes that people were assigned to, and you mentioned bow making as one of those processes. Can you give us a little demonstration of what bow making was like?
I can, because I just so happen to be at the library making bows while being interviewed. So this is the bow machine. This is the machine that would have been used at Aluminum Specialty to make bows for the bow tip trees. And I've got a little bow pin just situated right here. And we're just going to give it a twirl. And pop it off, and you've got a bow.
8 hours a day.
8 hours. That is a very nice bow.
It is. It makes great bows. Yeah,
it does.
And you said those would go on the tip of some of the different models of the Evergreen?
Yeah, there was a bow tip model tree.
Of course, Barb has one just off camera.
Wait, no, where's the camera? There, can you see the little spring on the end?
Oh, yes.
They put that little spring on the end, and then it fit on the tip of the aluminum rod that the branch is made of. So if this had a aluminum rod showing, you would just slide it onto the tip of the rod, and then you'd have a bow tip. That pink and red doesn't look bad together. I'm not mad about that. It's kind of not. It's very Valentine-y.
Don't be mad. Oh,
Jordan, is that machine adding that little
round
tip or just making the bow?
It just makes the bow, and there's a plastic pin that holds the bow together. That spring attaches to that plastic, the bottom of that pin, and then you attach the spring to the branch.
Tina, do you want him to set up a factory in the study room at the library?
Yes,
Haven't I gone over the fact that that is not possible right now? For goodness sake, you're not listening at all, are you?
Listen, the library is pretty good to us.
I don't think I could finagle a factory, though. I can try, I guess. What could it hurt? Worst they can say is no.
For posterity, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We'll put it in our basement.
I have to say, Jordan, the making of that bow was really satisfying. Like just the little click, 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 tick, tick, tick sound and stuff.
Yeah, it's a fun little machine. Although I wouldn't want to operate it for 8 hours at a time. Certainly not.
5 days a week. 5 days a week, Jordan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so do you have to count how many loops there are? Like, how do you know when to stop?
Yeah, it just depends on the size of the bow that you're making and how full you want it to be. So bows that are put onto the bow tip trees are 10 passes. They have 10 loops, but you can do larger bows with more loops or fewer, depending on what your needs are. If you have a large package and you need a big bow to put on it.
Do you use this for recreational purposes as well?
I do put it. I use it for bows for gifts. I have lots of different ribbon, different colors and sizes. So it comes in handy.
A special size, right? You need a special size and a special color to create this bow.
The bow tip trees that Aluminum Specialty made. Those bows are red number 7. And I think it's 5/16, 15.
Yeah.
No, it's a 5/8. It's a 5/8 inch diameter.
Just a little bigger than a half inch. A little bigger than a half inch, would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other size? Any other color? No. It's got to be red number 7, 5/8 inch width.
So you're saying that machine that you just demonstrated is the machine that they would have been using at the factory?
Yes. It is an S72 sashing bow machine made by the 3M Corporation. And now they're discontinued. They don't make sashing ribbon anymore. So any ribbon that I use is all new old stock ribbon that was made in the 60s and 70s. They stopped making it in the early 80s.
How
How
many
hard is it
machines?
to find that ribbon?
Yeah.
What?
How hard is it to find that ribbon? I mean, is it getting depleted?
It's not too hard to find the ribbon. Like generally speaking, you can find it on eBay pretty regularly. The problem that we have is that red number 7 specifically is very scarce, because what color ribbon would you most commonly use on a gift? Red.
Right.
So it's that particular color is scarce.
Okay.
I have three spools of it, 250 feet each, 250 yards each. And yeah, I hold on to that.
How many of those ribbon making machines do you think they had in operation at the factory? Is it possible to even know that?
I don't know. Maybe we could ask Audrey.
We can ask on Thursday. That's a good question,
actually. Yeah, that's a good question.
You know, is it like one lady on her shift doing it, or were there like 25 of them all making bows? Or
I remember her saying last year when we talked to her about it that she operated the machine, and then there was a guy that worked alongside of her who, when you finish making the bow on the machine and you cut it off, you have to spin the center loop around to hide the bow pin. So he was in charge of doing that and then counting them and putting them in a box. So I don't know if it was just the two of them that did it. It's hard to say how many bows were made. They were only made for that one model, and the bow tip trees are fairly rare. So maybe they didn't make that many, and maybe they only had those two people making bows. I don't know. We can ask tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's kind of wonderful how creative the engineers and the designers at Aluminum Specialty were when they try all these different iterations of the aluminum tree. I mean, different colors, bow tips. We've got fountain tips. We've got swirl. We've got blue frost. I mean, there are a lot of different variations. So out of over 4 million trees, maybe, I don't know how many of these they would make, but that's a lot of bow making for a job.
Are there any styles that you're aware of that were made that you haven't seen yet? Like, is there something elusive that's out there that you're like, please, God?
Yes, there's one in particular called the silver spruce. And we have a catalog page for it, so we know that one was made to take the photograph. And it's really interesting because, you know, all the Evergleam trees and the evergreen trees, plastic artificial trees as well, they all have branches that come away from the trunk in an upward direction. The silver spruce has downswept branches. And no one has ever seen one. We've never seen an example of this thing. But we know it existed. At least one of them did because of that catalog page.
Because of that.
And purportedly they came in 3 sizes. And
I mean, the physics of keeping the branch in the pole when it's leaning this way.
Yeah, I think Wes. So I had a conversation with Wes Martin before he passed away, and we talked briefly about that tree, the spruce, and he mentioned to me that they were having difficulty keeping the branches in the trunk. Yeah. So I don't know if the tree was planned and they made a prototype, and then it never they couldn't really get it to work for just the general consumer. So then they canceled it. I have no idea. He didn't talk about that with me at all, but he did say that was a problem.
Okay, viewers, if you think that you or someone you know has this silver spruce evergleam with the branches going downward, please contact Jordan and Barb and just let them know. Maybe you can share a photo. Maybe they could come and take a picture.
Gosh.
Or just
Every
tune
year.
in.
Right. Well, yes,
Right?
or a tune in, or I would love
Because
to see
that's
that.
how
I mean,
the 14-foot tree found its way to the
Right.
library was during COVID when we still weren't having, or we had just reopened, but we weren't having programming. That's why we did the first virtual sparkle. And the sisters that donated the 14-foot tree, I mean, we'll tell the whole story tomorrow, but they jumped on, and in the comments, one of them said, well, we have a 14-foot custom. And Barb and I were like, sure you do.
Sure you do.
And then they called the next day, and I, put Barb in touch with them, and a
And they
couple years
did, right?
later,
They've had,
They had it.
so I mean, the
So
silver
this
spruce.
happens. Yeah, it could happen. I mean, every year we get something that we didn't know existed, and we are just flabbergasted. We're dropping our jaw on the floor every year because something comes up like we didn't know they made a 6-foot peacock, and that came to us a couple of years ago, and that was very exciting. And so we have all kinds of surprises. Same thing with the bow tip. We didn't know there was a 6-foot bow tip until Jordan heard about it, and then Jordan got one, so he was very excited.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is that the one that American Family?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And somebody said, Jordan, well, you thought he was buying, what did you thought? You thought you were buying a 7-foot tree, and one of
Yeah, I thought it was a 7-foot. And they were like, were you disappointed that it was shorter than you expected? I was like, hell no.
It's something wild and different.
Yeah.
So that was special.
And that is what's fun about the virtual sparkle is that we have people watching all around the country, all around the world, throwing their stories in, and it's just a lot of fun. Plus the addition of the panel of people. That kind of just kind of grew organically out of people showing up. Like Darlene, the first time she was on it, she just was at the library and mentioned she had worked on the line, and she wound up getting winked into the panel that night, so I mean it's really fun, and it's the last library sparkle lecture of the year, of the season, of this Evergleam season, and it's a lot of fun, and you don't even have to leave home to watch it. In fact, if you showed up at the library, you'll be shooed away.
Tim, give viewers the details again. This is happening tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. on our Facebook page. Barb and Jordan and the panel will be appearing. Barb and Jordan will give, kind of like a Reader's Digest version of their larger Sparkle lecture where they, give all the details about the trees, but they'll give a condensed version of that. The panel will be talking to them, and then Barb and Jordan typically take about 10-15 minutes at the end to give a stroll guided tour through the enchanted Evergleam Forest. And then we say goodbye for the night. But it's a fun time, and it's pretty as all get out. And the panel has been described. This is my favorite description of them. It's a class It's as if it's a class reunion where the people actually like each other. And I love that description. And it's fun to film. I've never actually been able to watch it because I was just watching it through my phone, but it's great. And Barb and Jordan they have such a wealth of knowledge, and they're just such fun people to work with. And they're always dressed to the nines, which makes me feel like more of the ultra schlub that I know I am. But they're so good, and they are so much fun to work with, and I love it. I love it, and it's fantastic having them at the library, and it's beautiful, and I love the trees, and I'm always sad when they're down. But what can you do? They get the museum.
A big hit.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of the best things that grew out of COVID was some of the virtual programming that I fell into with Barb and Jordan, because COVID pretty much, bit, but it was terrible. But a couple of good things came out of it, and
Well,
the stuff that we
yes.
developed is one of them.
A couple of sparkling silver linings.
Exactly, literally sparkling.
Barb, did you once tell me a story about the women on the line singing some kind of song? Did they like make up a song, or?
We'll sing that tomorrow. It's we sing it all the time, and I know they would be tired. I mean, you have all kinds of things going on during the day. You're trying to get a nap in. You're going to third shift by 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. They're ready to fall over. They're tired, and so and this is what's really wonderful is all the ladies work together and they came up with a song, and it's Girls of the Specialty song. So we sing, we are the girls of the specialty. We specialize in Christmas
Don't give
trees.
away too much, Barb.
That's all I'm
Goodness
giving.
sake.
That's the flavor.
So you have to tune in tomorrow night,
Yes.
Manitowoc Public Library's Facebook page, 6 p.m. to actually hear this panel live and in person, and to learn more about the lyrics of this cool song.
Yep, and hear Barb and Jordan for sure singing, but usually the people on the panel join in.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
And you can too from
It's going to be a top 10 hit.
Yep. Everything old is new again.
Is there
Bringing
anything
glowworm back.
else you want viewers to know about this cool event that you've got planned?
Well, I think what really is wonderful is how heartwarming it is. All these people are members of our community. They've been here for a good long time, and I think that they think a lot of this place they call home. And I know that Fran, who puts the display up at the library, that's the reason she comes back every year. She lives in Appleton, but she brings those trees here because she grew up here, and she feels like family is here, especially with all of us in the Evergleam community. So it's just such a different feeling when you walk into that display. One tree is great, but a whole forest of them is enchanting, and that's why you've got to make a point of going there and seeing all the diversity of those trees. It's just phenomenal. And we give you the ability to go back in time, sit on the sofa, wear retro clothing if you want to, and have your holiday picture taken. It's quite a special moment. So I think it does our heart good. Even when the children they run in to the library because of the trees, and that's kind of cool to see.
Think about that. Kids these days who have no connection to the history of them, right? What do kids think when they come in and see that?
Well, it's wonderful. They hear all the stories. They can't believe that where they're growing up, something like this happened, which is part of the reason we developed our 501c3, because we want that history to stay alive. We want people to understand how important the aluminum manufacturing was to developing the commerce in this town and to really help the middle class thrive. And everyone here, that especially those that work there, I mean, you could plan on a whole career working your way up. If you left high school, you could go right to work and you could retire from that company. So I think it's important to bring that knowledge to people. We have a 12-year-old collector who is ready to commit to the lifelong collecting and being part of our whole Manitowoc Kitschmas Incorporated, because he just loves the whole history behind it. He loves the trees, and we've got to cultivate that respect and that admiration for things that were past and how important they are to now.
And I see kids all the time coming into the library, and they're just gobsmacked by the 14-foot tree. They just stop in their tracks and stare at it. And they could be rambunctious coming into the library, but the tree just, it captivates them. The trees in general are everyday magic. I mean, I could care less about Harry Potter, and I know if anyone's listening, I'll get blowback about that. But that kind of magic doesn't interest me at all. But I will fall into just being captivated by the trees and entranced by them. It's wonderful.
That's real magic.
It is real magic, and that it is also local history and local pride, and also part of the broader pop culture landscape. It's a lot rolled into one. And then you look out the window past the trees, and in the background with the trees. There's a World War II submarine right across the river. That was, that one wasn't built here, but 28 were, just like it. And it's a historic whirlwind of, just amazing proportions, all within eyeshot from the library.
Tim, Enchanted Evergleam Forest, how long is that on display at the Manitowoc Public Library?
Through January 7th, Sunday, January 7th.
Okay, so if you haven't seen it yet, or if you want to see it again, you have an opportunity through January 7th, and then you want to join these fine folks tomorrow night, which is Thursday at 6 p.m. for the virtual Sparkle event. It sounds like it's going to be fantastic. Jordan Kabat, Barb Bundy-Jost, Timothy, Andrew, Gabriel, Gadzinski.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Coffee on the Coast.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Tina.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.